Hello again, fellow sea dogs and landlubbers. I'm your host, Paul Baldwin. On this fourth leg of our journey, we are going to discuss lighthouses and the ship's bridge. That is a small example of a bridge. Also, all good sailors must know their knots. There's various knots that a sailor must be familiar with. Please see these knots and get yourself familiar with them. And if you care, you can look at them and read about them more. The small descriptions posted on the board. The more essential knots sailors must be familiar with: clove hitch, the sheet bend, and the half hitch. Also, the bowlines. These knots are very important to know. They're used quite extensively aboard a ship. Okay, now that we're done playing with our knots, let's go up to the mock-up bridge just to get to look at the wheel stand, the binnacles, some of the orders that captains typically bark out to the crew, and the engine room telegraph. These are some of the orders. Come right, 09, go. Steady as she goes. There's a binnacle. Note the large brass balls on either side to counter the effects of all the steel on the ship. And this is the engine room telegraph, where orders are telegraphed down to the engine room. Every turn you make issues some sort of an order down to the engine room. As the captain turns the lever, the bells would ring, and that would alert the engineer of the new order. The engineer will then acknowledge the order, and this will let the helmsman know the order was received, such as full steam ahead to the lighthouses. This is the view from the second floor of the Texas Maritime Museum. Here is a collection of assorted knots, little knots and other trinkets. We are going to cover approximately 8 to 10 different lighthouses, and you may pause and read all about them if you wish. There's quite a bit of information, and I'm just going to touch on just a few. Here you have one of the lenses of the lighthouse. We're going to get a more detailed view of this from inside. You can see how thick the glass is, and prisms, the way the glass is cut, and the prisms, and a big reflected mirror in the back, a big concave mirror. We're also going to see these ship running lights from around 1930s, 1920s. The red was on the port side of the ship, which is the left, and the green was on the starboard side, which would be on the right side of the ship. These lamps were kerosene lanterns, were placed inside, and they were used to alert other ships of your presence and your position on the water. And here is a lens from the Brazos River Lighthouse. Notice how thick the prisms are to reflect the light and bend it and refract it so it can be seen for many miles. Here you can read more about the Brazos River Lighthouse Reflector. And there it is once more. And here's an interesting article on the lighthouse keepers. These were the people who used to tend the lighthouses before automated lighthouses were around. So you can read what their duties were if you care to. And here are a few post lanterns. They were used around 1874. They were used to light smaller waterways and rivers. Kerosene was the kind of fuel they used on these lanterns. Here's what the mast area looked like on the deck of one of these schooners or the sailing ship of the time period. This will now conclude the fourth leg in our journey. I do hope you enjoyed. Please stay tuned for the conclusion of our adventure. On the next part, we will cover the roof, top view, and the yard. Thank you.